Grace and peace to you from Grace Church on the Hill in Toronto. And I hope you're coping, as we must under these conditions. And I hope in this time you are looking to places perhaps you haven't looked for spiritual sustenance hitherto. In music, in art, in literature, certainly in reading scripture, but also in poetry. Perhaps this is a time when we can rediscover poetry and revisit some of our favorite poets. That's what I've been trying to do in some of my downtime, and I don't want to watch a screen anymore. One of my great loves is the poet George Herbert, a priest poet, and I've been speaking about some of his poems that have meant much to me. I want to speak about one of his most difficult poems. It's called Prayer. We all struggle with prayer. We all find prayer difficult. What is prayer? How do you define prayer? Is prayer something we say? Is prayer something that God works in us? Or is it all of those things? Is prayer something we do only when we're together in church with others? Is prayer just corporate prayer? Or is prayer just my spoken prayer? Or is it my voiceless prayer? Unspoken. Is prayer something that is moving in my heart? Sighs too deep for words? Is the Spirit working in me and in a sense speaking through me in ways that I'm not fully conscious of? Well, prayer is a very elusive thing. And I think the brilliance of Herbert's poem is that he captures that elusive, ambiguous nature of what true prayer is. It is so many things. And what he does in this poem, there's no main verb. He never says prayer is this, is that. No, he just piles up images and metaphors from here and there and everywhere. And I think what we should do is just let those images and metaphors speak to us and to our hearts. He says it's the church's banquet. Now, a banquet is a great spread. You can have a bit of this and some of that, and sample this and that and the other. It's a wonderful image. Of course, the Eucharist is the church's banquet. The heavenly banquet is what we're all finally called to. But prayer is the church's banquet, a wonderful image. He speaks of the heart in pilgrimage. I love that image. Heart in pilgrimage. Isn't that a description of our Christian journey? Heart in pilgrimage. From when I was a child, when I was a teenager, when I was a young man, when I was first married, when I became a father. You see, the heart is in pilgrimage in all these stages of life. I love his image, engine against the Almighty. That's a military metaphor, an engine of war. Engine against the Almighty. Sinner's tower, tower of refuge, tower of strength, all of those things, these images. He says reversed thunder. Well, I know what thunder is, but what is reverse thunder? Maybe we thunder at God, and in reverse, we don't get back thunder. We get the mercy and peace of God, non-reacting to our emotional fits. He speaks of Christ's side pierced. His prayer, a meditation on the offering of Christ on the cross. I love 6 days world, transposing in an hour. 6 days, that's the Monday to Saturday world, prayerfully transposed in what? The hour of worship on a Sunday? A kind of tune. You ever thought of prayer as a kind of tune, which all things hear and fear? well, in awe. Prayer is softness, peace, joy, love, bliss. These simple words. And then he calls it exalted manna. Remember the manna that came down from heaven to feed the Israelites in the wilderness when they were lost and hungry and Moses was at his wit's end. The people were fed with their daily bread, their manna. He calls prayer an exalted manna. Exalted. Heaven in ordinary. We know about ordinary life. We know about mundane life, particularly these days. It seems very ordinary and uneventful. Heaven in ordinary. Such a paradox. Then he says, man well dressed. That's a great image. We all like to dress up. Man well dressed. Does that mean prayer brings out the best version of ourselves? Man well dressed. The Milky Way, the galaxies, the cosmos. And then he says, the bird of paradise. The bird of paradise? What's that, George? Church bells. Beyond the stars heard. The land of spices. Have you ever thought of prayer as the land of spices? How exotic. Can't you smell the aroma of the cinnamon and the nutmeg and the curries? Prayer, the land of spices? And then the last phrase, so trenchant, something understood. Have you ever thought of prayer as something understood, which you can't explain, which is beyond words, but you get it, you understand it, you accept its reality, its gift? Is prayer God understanding us? All of us? Is prayer something understood that we, in our limited, finite human minds, can understand enough of the love and glory of God that we are at peace in this relationship, and that we know that we are loved and held in an everlasting love, even though we're undeserving? Is that what prayer is? Something understood. Let me recite Herbert's poem. Prayer, the church's banquet, angels' age, God's breath in man returning to his birth, the soul in paraphrase, heart in pilgrimage, the Christian plummet sounding heaven and earth, engine against the Almighty, sinner's tower, reversed thunder, Christ side-piercing spear, the 6 days' world transposing in an hour, a kind of tune which all things hear and fear, softness and peace and joy and love and bliss, exalted manna, gladness of the best, heaven in ordinary, man well dressed, the Milky Way, the bird of paradise. Church bells beyond the stars heard, the soul's blood, the land of spices, something understood. May the gift of prayer help all of us understand more deeply God's love for each of us. Grace to you in this time.